Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and it is official. We now have two separate builds with two separate end boards for our new K9 Cyber Dragon. So we're gonna talk about this current build, talk about where I'm leaning, and I will show you guys the new combos for the K9 Cyber Dragon Spell Canceller build. So if you guys enjoy the content, drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Let's jump in and let's talk about it. Alright guys, so this build is very similar to the build I showed off in my last video, where we ended off with Infinity, Ripper, Therion King, Chaos Angel, and an IP Masquerena setup to use with SP Little Knight, and Force Release, sorry, to be able to pop a card and swap Ripper into Werewolf. This build, on the other hand, does a similar board where it ends with Infinity, Ripper, Therion King, and Chaos Angel, and Spell Canceller, locking your opponent out of spell cards, which the majority of the best board breakers in the game are spell cards, so that's pretty powerful. And then with a couple of Omni Negates and in-hand and graveyard negates to be able to slow your opponent down when they try to go off, as well as we have plenty of space for hand traps, we were able to, kind of shimmy down the space in both versions of the deck. If you actually see my other one, it probably has more space than this one. The downside to this build is it takes up a lot more extra deck space and requires you to run bricks in the main deck, which I don't like. Like, if you open up Spell Canceller, it feels awful, but it is what it is. I'm going to show you guys the combos that we have. We have a combo going from our Cyber side, our Cyberdark side, and from Noroi. So those still become our starters. With this current build, we have 11 starters. We could up it, but we would have to sacrifice some other stuff. I did cut Izuna and Jokul. For this build specifically, those cards do not work well with the combos for this deck. They actually feel like bricks, which is bad. Like, it's nice, Izuna is a cool hand trap if you open up with it going second, but it sucks when you have it and you would rather have any other card in your deck. But let me know your thoughts. Let's go jump into the combos. Alright, so here's our Cyber Dragon line. We start off with normal Cyber Dragon stuff. Summon to Chimera, normal summon to Chimera, Clockwork Knight to get Clockwork Knight, Chimera to get Power Bond, Link into Vulcan Booster. So if you guys saw my last video, this is one of the other problems I have with this build, but everybody really likes this build, is that it requires you to play an extra RB monster in the deck, where if you guys look at my previous build, I was able to shimmy down the combo where you only need to run 2 RB cards in the entire main deck, but it's alright. The RB stuff is pretty good for us. So we get Vulcan Rocket, special summon Vulcan Rocket for another Clockwork Knight. You also do need to run 2 Clockwork Knights, which I don't like, but it is what it is. So you send a Vulcan Booster with Clockwork Knight to bring back Rocket from the grave, because it's a machine monster with 1000 less attack. This triggers Funk Dog. When an RB monster is sent from field to graveyard, you get to special summon 1 from the deck once per turn. So we get another free level 5. But now we can go into Cleveland Genius, mostly because we have the extra body, and then we can use Worm's effect, dumping Hertz, grabbing Realm, grabbing Cyber Dragon, and now we can go into Nova, detach Worm. You have to make sure you detach Worm, otherwise you will stop yourself, because Worm is the Cyber Dragon you're going to bring back, because treat a Cyber Dragon in the grave. Now we can go Power Bond for Rampage, getting rid of the materials we had in the grave, and now we go Ripper, and now we go into our K9 engine. Case of K9, search Jokul, special summon Cyber Dragon to the Cleveland Genius arrows, that can search our Therion King, and then Jokul to get Lantern. Now if you pay attention, I have not used the Clockwork Knight in the grave yet. There's a reason for that. But now we Lantern for Jokul, again to the Cleveland Genius arrows. This grabs a Spell Canceller, and then we can link the Genius plus the 2 materials to make Saryuja Skuldred the last piece of the combo. So Saryuja gets different effects based on how many materials used to make it. I know it's been around for a while, but I'm just talking to people who don't necessarily know what this card does. If you made it with 2 monsters, 2 Link 2s, or Link 3 and a Link 1, any monster that's normal is special summoned to its arrows gains 500. Once per turn during your main phase, you're allowed, if you made it with 3 monsters, which we did, you can special summon 1 monster from your hand per turn. If you made it with 4 monsters, you also get to draw 4 cards and then put 3 of them to the bottom of the deck, which is crazy. But unfortunately, we didn't want to make it with 4 because we'd have to give up something. And I wasn't about that. But we have used Saryuja, and now that's how we're going to summon Spell Canceller. Boop. And then lastly, we have special summon Therion King. It's gonna get a little power boost from Yugioh. And here's what we're doing with the Clockwork Knight. We were able to discard the realm that we added back, since realm is a dead card, to get Noroi. Now we have potential follow-up for next turn. And that is our full board. 2 Omni negates, a hand and graveyard negate, battle protection with Chaos Angel, and he's also immune because we use a light and a dark, and then turning off all spell cards. That is our Cyber line. Now let's go jump into the Cyberdark line. All right, so this one is from Realm or Claw if you decide you want to play that. Chimera, Clockwork, Chimera to dump Worm, Clockwork to grab Clockwork Knight. Now Worm. This is where we start changing things up right in the beginning. So Worm for Hurts, grab Realm back. Now ignore the double Realm. For you guys that didn't see my last video, the only reason I made it so we have 2 realms in hand is not that we need 2 cards for the combo. It's because Noroi is part of the combo, and Noroi can only be normal summoned without a tribute if your opponent has at least 2 cards in hand. So that's the only reason we did it. Otherwise, we would only have the realm in hand. So pretend one of these realms isn't here. But now we just added one back with Worm. So now we link into Vulcan Booster and we do our RB shenanigans. Grab Funk Duck grabs Vulcan Rocket, but we have to change it up compared to what we did the last combo. Now when we send one to grave, we have to bring back Chimera. That changes things. But we do get the free body from the deck still because of Funk Duck. Now we use Chimera, ditching Clockwork Knight, grab grab Power Bond, and then we use Clockwork Knight's graveyard effect to grab Noroi because Noroi is part of this combo. We link Vulcan Booster and Chimera, we don't need them anymore, into Genius. And then we normal summon Noroi without a tribute because our opponent has 2 cards in hand, which then lets us special summon Joe Cool from the deck. Now we're locked into just Canine monsters while that Joe Cool is on the board. But we're going to use Joe Cool for its search to get Lantern. And then we're going to overlay into Ripper. Ripper's going to grab us a spell card. Case of Canine, which is going to grab us another Joe Cool, which we need for part of the combo. Now we still have this Vulcan Rocket just chilling here. Joe Cool for Cyber Dragon. And now we get our Chaos Angel and our Therion King. Slowing it down a second. Now this part's kind of funny. So we're going to Power Bond for Rampage. We're going to overlay into Nova. We are not going to use Nova's effect here. Why? Because we would clog up our zones and we want to keep the zones to be able to finish our combo. So we just have an Infinity with an extra material. And then we Lantern with Joe Cool, getting us Spell Canceller. And then just like the last combo, we're going to go. So this is before I took EX Force Liberation. This card actually ended up coming out because I couldn't have space for Werewolf in the extra deck. But we go into Saryuja special summon Spell Canceller, and it gains 500. And then we're going to special summon Regulus, and we have the exact same board that we had with our Cyber combo. This is something I really like. We did this with our Cyber combo when we first did Cyber Fiendsmith, where we have an end board that's achievable through all of our starters. The only difference with this one, as opposed to the cyber side of it, is we have an Infinity with an extra material and we don't have the Noroi for follow-up. That's the only difference. Granted, the Noroi could be a big difference, but I'm okay with it. All right, lastly, we got the weakest version of the combo, which is the Noroi side. This makes Noroi a 2-card starter, technically. It's a 1.5 because it's Noroi and literally any other card in the deck. The second card doesn't matter. So Noroi for Joe Cool for Lantern. Now we're going to use Noroi's second effect. A lot of people still forget that he has a second effect where you can send a Canine card from field to grave to be able to peek your opponent's hand. In this case, we're going to send the Joe Cool because by special summoning Joe Cool, we're locked into Canine monsters until we get rid of the Joe Cool. So we'll get rid of the Joe Cool, peek our opponent's hand. Now we can special Lantern, which is going to special Joe Cool. Lantern's going to search for us. This right here is why Case of Canine is not a starter. I don't know why people keep saying it is. We need Case of Canine to be able to do this as a 1-card combo. We're gonna play Case of Canine to search Joe Cool because we need another Joe Cool. Overlay a River Stormer. River Stormer is going to grab us Scrap Recycler. This is the tech. These are the techs right here we need to bridge these 2 engines. This is what allows Canine to go into Cyber Dragon. I haven't figured out a way to do it without them. If you have, let me know in the comments. But this is our best bet because now with Noroi and River Stormer, that's 2 machines, we're able to link into Platinum Gadget and then Special Recycler, which is going to let us dump Chimera, which is going to then let us dump Worm. Now, I know that seems redundant, but you have to dump Chimera for Worm. because Worm requires you to have a cyber card, a cyber monster either on field or in graveyard. So by dumping Chimera first, we have that. Now we can River Stormer. Now we use the River Stormer effect. River Stormer can sack a machine link to bring itself back, which we need to do because Platinum Gadget can't be used as link material. And then we can link into our RB stuff. And then we can do the RB part of the combo. Funk Dog grabs Rocket for Clockwork Knight, which is going to trigger Clockwork Knight, sending Case of Canine to get us Clockwork Knight. This is why you need Case of Canine. I don't know why people are saying it's a starter. If you use Case of Canine to search something to search Noroi to go into your combo, then you don't get it for Joe. But now we have Clockwork Knight, and now we're sending the booster like we did in the last combo to Special Chimera, which is going to trigger Funk Dog to get us another body. Now we use Chimera, and now we can link these two into Cleaver Genius, and now we're going into a similar combo. The only thing is, because we already used Lantern at the beginning of the combo, we can't do the full combo, so we are going to lose out on an interruption. Now we overlay into Nova, bring back, overlay into Infinity, Joe Cool and Cyber Dragon, bang bang, that's going to trigger that, that's going to grab us Spell Canceller, Chaos Angel, and now this is where we had to get a little weird. So we had to use Power Bond to make Rampage to then link into Saryuja, because if we overlaid into a 5, we wouldn't be able to get the extra body to be able to go into Saryuja. So we have to, if we want Spell Cancel, we got to go into Saryuja there, which kind of sucks. And this is why I say it's a 1.5 card combo, because now this last card, this second realm that we had for Noroi, to be able to play Noroi, this could be any card in the entire deck, but it does require us to use the extra card to be able to discard it for Clockwork Knight to get Regulus. Now, as you see, we have the same board as the other two combos minus the Ripper. So that's one interruption, we're down. But to be able to turn Noroi into another starter and a bridge into Cyber Dragon, I think I'll take it. All right, guys, here's that build that we were working on. So we can either go with the IP Masquerena build, which I personally like. It feels a little more flexible, has more open spots in the extra deck and less bricks in the main. But the Spell Cancel build is probably the stronger end board. So it depends on if you want to go high risk, high reward, or if you want to go pure consistency. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments, guys. Let me know what other combos you guys are trying out. This one was brought to my attention by some of my viewers, and I kind of tweaked it with some Zaphical spice on it. But anyway, guys, if you want to check me out on social media, links down below. If you guys want to be here for the next Yu-Gi-Oh stream, keep an eye out on the channel for when I post the schedule. That's going to be it from me, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Later.
In my eyes, I was born for this. I got demons on my side, you and I like this. I got reason to believe, I don't need it from my gifts. Only I can change the world and it go like this.